What does it really mean to put God first? I always thought I did this because I would call myself a Christian man, but the only evidence I had was this cross necklace that's underneath my sweatshirt right now. And then maybe I'll go to church once a month. But then I would come home and delete my browser history at nighttime. So I would call myself a Christian, but then I wouldn't act Christ-like. And we don't need to be perfect to put God first. We just need to understand Christ's character so that we can be more like him. And the only way that you can understand Jesus Christ is by reading this big book about him. It's called the Bible. And I know this is revolutionary stuff. Start reading the Bible to put God first, but most Christians don't put in the time to actually read the Bible consistently. And what I've started doing to incorporate it into my everyday life is I'll wake up 20 minutes earlier than I usually would. So instead of waking up at 4 a.m., which I know is insane, I just can't sleep, I'll wake up at 3:40 instead. And this will give me enough time to at least read one chapter out of the Bible. But I know for most people, reading the Bible is pretty boring stuff. And what you can do to kind of spice it up is you can follow it up with a prayer about what you just read. This way, it turns reading the Bible into a conversation with God instead of a one-way street. And if you really want God to speak to you and reveal his will, like he did for me, you can follow that prayer up by asking God, is there any wisdom that you want to show me today? And I remember one of the first times I did this, he spoke Ezekiel 3. So I went to that chapter in the Bible, and it says, "Son of man, eat whatever you like, eat this scroll, and go speak to the house of Israel." And this was the exact motivation I needed to start this YouTube channel, spreading the word of God. And that's the next step in putting God first. Now, I'm not telling you to start a YouTube channel, because everybody's got one of those these days, but spreading the gospel to the people around you. Maybe that's the people at your work, maybe that's your family, or maybe you can start with the people in your church, which I know sounds a bit silly to talk about God with people that already know him, but maybe they don't have the relationship with Christ that they want to have, and you talking about God with them can bring them closer to him. And this is exactly what we saw Paul do, where he went to many different nations talking about Christ to the Jews, to the Christians, and to the non-believers. And I think that we can pretty confidently say that Paul, who wrote basically half of the New Testament, was a man that put God first. So much so that he even went to jail for talking about Christ, along with the 11 disciples that were left after Jesus ascended into heaven. But the great part about living in the Western world is that we have freedom of speech and we can talk about God without persecution. But we are still oppressed by our accuser. This is the devil. And this is the hardest part about putting God first in your life. Staying out of sin and not listening to the devil's temptation. And in today's age, this is almost impossible because we're just surrounded by sin. You go on Instagram or on TikTok, and suddenly the algorithm starts suggesting videos of women who are half clothed, and one thing leads into another, and you end up in that same old habitual sin that you just can't seem to avoid. But Christ gives us a way out of this. He says in Matthew 5:30, if your right hand causes you to sin, to cut it off. I want to give an example here. Let's say that you're addicted to cigarettes. Let's say that the store that you used to buy them from closes down, and now you have to walk 40 miles to go buy cigarettes. Do you still think that you're going to be addicted to them? Probably not, because it's not easy for you to get them anymore. So when you delete TikTok or Instagram off of your phone, then it's going to be that much easier to stay out of that sin. And of course, there's going to be times when you want to go back to it. And the way that you can avoid this is by calling out for Christ and identifying with him. And this is exactly what Paul calls us to do in Romans 12:20, where he says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And the way that you can actually implement this in your own life is whenever you feel like going back into that old sin, telling yourself that Jesus has delivered me from this. I've used this personally, and it's basically rewired my brain to be Christ-like and to stop putting my flesh first, but to put God first. But those are the 3 ways that you can start putting God first in your life. Let's run through it again. 1, start reading the Bible and wake up 20 minutes earlier every day. Let's go read 1 chapter. 2, spread the gospel to the people that are around you. And 3, use Jesus and identifying with him to stay out of sin. And once you start putting God first in your life, then you can finally start understanding what his will for you is. So for me, this was creating this YouTube channel to spread the word of God. And if you want to know how I was able to find the will for my life, and check out this video over in the corner, and I'll see you over there.